I'm Peter Carter. I'm making this climate change video for the Climate Emergency Institute. This is an update on fossil fuel carbon dioxide emissions. The topic is the most important topic and issue of the day, and actually of all time. I'm making the video on the 26th of February 2019, and the video is from the Global Carbon Project. I am a co-author with Elizabeth Woodworth of the book you see here, Unprecedented Crime, published in April of 2018. And of course, the unprecedented crime of all time is the continued burning of fossil fuel with the continued CO2 emissions, but worse than that, the continued increase of those emissions, and the crime of all time, the people, the deniers in various forms, actually, who are perpetuating this planet-destroying situation. I am making this video 2019 in the light of the fact, the scientific fact, that emissions, global emissions of carbon dioxide must decline by 2020. What you're seeing here is just a collection of some of the very many scientific studies and intergovernmental reports showing over the past 10 years, in fact, that emissions have to decline by 2020. So as I said, it's from the Global Carbon Project. It's their annual global carbon budget, this one for 2018, and included emissions up to the end of 2018. This is the authoritative publication and website for carbon dioxide emissions and the various breakdown of those emissions, and the project and the site is run by the world's leading expert on carbon dioxide and the carbon cycling. And I'm just going to show you these few slides to demonstrate the terrible situation that we're in. And that is because last year, 2018, was a record year for carbon dioxide emissions, had reached up to 37.1 gigatons of carbon dioxide. This graph here starts in 1990. 2018, this is gigatons of carbon dioxide. That not only is a record, it is a record by a huge increase in 1 year of 2.7%. The year 2017, before that, was another increase, so this is more than a little bit worrying. We're looking at a picture of global planetary destruction. That's what this trend is showing. Here I've just added a sort of my idea of a trend, this red arrow here, because if you take it overall from year 2000 up to 2018, emissions have been increasing at a very rapid, sustained rate. And of course, emissions have to go into decline, and we've known for many, many, many years, the science has been telling us, so we're going in absolutely the wrong way, and this is a suicidal course, a globally suicidal course. So the Global Carbon Project did a really useful infographic. Here you see the graph that we've just looked at with the big 2.7% jump in CO2 emissions. And here it shows where these emissions originated from. This is global energy consumption, from burning oil at the top, coal and natural gas. These have all been steadily following that trajectory of a constant increase. Here I've separated out coal, about which there are serious misconceptions. So let's take a look at this graph on coal. From 1960, there's a steady, in fact, an accelerating increase in global coal consumption up to 1990, when it plateaued up to 2000, and then it literally took off. It skyrocketed. That, of course, being the world economy's manufacturing base moving to China, and China doing that manufacturing by constructing, rapidly constructing enormous numbers of coal plants. And then it kicked down for a year with the global bank economy mortgage fiasco. But after that year, it shot right up again, and then it plateaued again, dropped a little bit for a couple of years, but now 2017, it's gone up again. So the world is absolutely not getting off abandoning coal. There is a enormous increase in the burning of coal and energy consumption from 2000 up to today. There's coal consumption carrying on with this suicidal trend, because of course coal is the very worst of the fossil fuels with respect to its carbon dioxide, greenhouse gas emissions, and respect of course to its air pollution. Right at the bottom here you see it's labeled other renewables. It says other renewables because just above is hydro and nuclear. So yes, the renewable energy has been increasing. It's been increasing fairly rapidly, in fact, but it's coming nowhere close to displacing the burning of fossil fuels for energy. And this is a situation which has to be completely turned around, because all of this energy has to be and can be replaced by the non-polluting renewable energy sources. And I think pretty well everybody realizes that now. This here shows us the momentous, more than historic predicament the world is in. This is what has to happen to emissions. This is the 1.5 degrees C limit, which you see here in gold color, and for the 2 degrees C limit, which we all know now is catastrophic, and the scientists have now strongly supporting the attempt for the 1.5 degrees C limit. You'll see in both cases this year, 2019, 2020, global emissions have to go into decline. Now, there's nothing new about this either. We knew this back in 2007 with the IPCC fourth assessment report. That's, of course, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. There you see it. That's where we are today. Emissions have to go down, and they have to go down rapidly, and they can go down rapidly for the 1.5 degrees C limit. So the next thing I did was to try and see really precisely then where we were with respect to the scenarios that the IPCC has developed and used for decades now. And the last full assessment was the fifth assessment, the AR5, and the scenarios there were called RCP scenarios. I've taken the science of carbon dioxide emissions for those scenarios. There's the original one, and I've broken it down to the worst case scenario, which is the highest anticipated emissions scenario, and the best case scenario, which is the one down here. This is called RCP 8.5, and this is called RCP 2.6. As you see, RCP 2.6, which was for the 2 degrees C limit, emissions have to go into decline at 2020. So here's what, and there's that original Global Carbon Project where I've worked out where we were, which is 37.1 gigatons of CO2 per year. And this runs from 2000 to 2018 here. So as you can see, in actual fact, from 2000, the people that have been saying that we've been tracking the worst case emission scenario are right. We have been indeed tracking the worst case scenario. That sharp reduction is the economic fiasco with the bank mortgage situation. And then there was a little bit of a reduction here as China started burning a bit less coal, but coal is now back with a vengeance. And so here you see this kick up here. So we are tracking the worst case scenario, and if this carries on, if this is allowed to carry on, we will be on the worst case scenario for sure, and then we'll be going above the worst case scenario. So this is a global suicide scenario, no question about that. So this is what this means in terms of the most recent, very important IPCC assessment, the 1.5 degrees C assessment. The scientists did a brilliant job on this, and most of the world, I think, has got most of the messages. This is the only scenario that the IPCC found, the only emissions scenario in which we could limit to 1.5 degrees C and not include the assumption of methods of the unnatural methods of removing CO2 from the atmosphere. The carbon sinking here is only done through natural processes, through forestry and agriculture. And as you can see, we can do this. We're up here at 37.1. This is now called net emissions. This is billions of tons of CO2 per year. But of course, at least for the next decade or two, this is real emissions. There's no net going on here. They did anticipate that emissions would increase, and in this scenario, and the prescription is that emissions have to decline and decline rapidly from 2020. So that's the same thing as we knew from the 2014 fifth assessment on the best case scenario, which is called RCP 2.6. Exactly the same thing. Emissions have to decline. Emissions have to decline now. We have no more time left. Humanity has no more time left in order to secure a future for humanity, that is. That's just the original. I won't go into it in detail, but it's really, really, really important. Emissions have to reach very, very close to zero by 2050. And in actual fact, the numbers are given to us by the IPCC 1.5C report, and it works out to at least a reduction of fossil fuel use of over 80% by 2050, and that's at least. So the 1.5C report definitely confirmed that by mid-century all our fossil fuel energy has to be replaced by non-greenhouse gas polluting, non-CO2 emitting renewable energy sources. And we know we have plenty of that, so we know that this can be replaced and emissions can be brought down. That sort of seems, yes, it is. It's pretty terrible news. There's no question about that. This is really important. This didn't come from the Global Carbon Project, but it came from the same scientists that put the Global Carbon Project out. And this showed that there are 18 developed country economies that have been successful of putting their national emissions into decline. So this proves without any question of a doubt that this can be done. These go from 1990, all of these are from 1990, up to 2017. So this definitely proves that this can be done. So I want to tell you what the situation is regarding the coal industry, and it's terrible. It is. This is global coal-fired power plants 2017 data. This is from Coal Swarm, their global coal plant tracker. Globally, there are 6,732 operating coal-fired burning plant units. That's more than 30 megawatts. So these are big coal burning units. Some of the power plants have more than one, have several units. Under construction, there are 491 units, which is a huge increase. Announced and fully permitted, there are 729 units. So coal is, we are not seeing the end of coal. And we're not seeing the end of coal because our governments are not ending it. This is from that same study, and this is a map from the study, which is put out by Carbon Brief. So these in gold are the operating coal plants. These color here are the newer coal plants approaching a red color. And the magenta colors here are the ones under construction, and then the purple ones are the ones that are planned. You're looking at a picture that condemns most of life on this earth to extinction. This is an annihilation picture by the worst of all fossil fuels which we've been burning since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And insanely, the world is continuing to do this and continuing to burn more coal, and is building more coal burning plants, and is planned, and this is driven by the global economy, allowed by the governments. So you see what the crime of all time is all about. You can understand the unprecedented crime that is. With respect to that, let us remind ourselves what burning, particularly coal, burning fossil fuels in general, does. We tend to forget, God knows why, that it results in toxic air pollution, multiple highly toxic chemicals, which are responsible for about 3 million deaths per year, according to the World Health Organization. And, of course, burning fossil fuels is by far the main source of atmospheric carbon dioxide greenhouse gas pollution, and that's responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths a year. So this produces heat in the lower atmosphere. The heat builds up in the lower atmosphere. That results in global surface warming. But first, it results in ocean heating, because most of this heat goes into ocean heat, and that is highly destructive of ocean health. Now, of course, carbon dioxide is the sole source of ocean acidification, and as a result of this greenhouse gas pollution, we have ocean deoxygenation. So the oceans are being ruined by continuing and increasing atmospheric emissions of carbon dioxide from burning fossil fuels. And then, of course, we have global climate disruption. We have global climate change and global climate variation, which is better described as global climate disruption. That leads to all these extreme weather events increasing, which the IPCC has been reporting, which are happening on all continents, practically all regions. We're having more heat waves, we're having more forest fires, we're having more drought, we're having more floods, we're having more powerful hurricanes and cyclones, and we're having more severe storms. And that's all the result of continuing to burn fossil fuels. Now, the global surface warming, of course, is also melting ice sheets and melting glaciers. That will soon be starting to disrupt billions of people who depend on the mountaintop water supply of the spring melts. And, of course, as we all are well aware of, this results in sea level rise. Sea level rise is accelerating, ocean heating is accelerating, ocean acidification is accelerating, heat waves are accelerating, and global surface warming, taken from 1800, is also accelerating. So the whole thing is absolutely crazy. Climate craziness, it's an ultimate evil, is what it is, because there are powers and leaders and people behind this, pushing this situation onto the planet and onto humanity. So here we are, 2019, momentous, historic, the choice of all time. Will we be absolutely insane and allow this situation, which is clearly primed to continue to increase CO2 emissions, burning up our future and burning up our planet? Or will we wake up and look at the reality and do really what there should be? There should be no choice here. There should be no option, right? We don't have an option. We have to put global emissions into decline, and we have to do it right away. And here we are at 2019. The crime of all time, the unprecedented crime, is clearly before us. It's affecting the entire planet. It's risking the future of all humanity. And what it is the continuing and the increasing burning of fossil fuels, emitting carbon dioxide, primarily. also increases, also emits methane, and also emits some nitrous oxide. This is as bad as it can get. The future is going to be, at best, very, very tough. We are leaving a very harsh legacy. That's been determined already by the accumulated amount of carbon dioxide which is up in the atmosphere. We can rescue the future by putting our global emissions into decline. And we need to all be working on that, working on it hard right away. And as many, many people that I communicate with throughout the world are.